Hey guys, it's Mark from the GMAT Mentor. GMAT can be a tough test to grasp at first, but don't worry, I'll give you the tools you need to master it. The single most important tool I can give you is a solid process, the foundation for GMAT success. For problem-solving questions, there's a 4-step process you should follow. First, understand the setup. Put in the time up front to get what's going on, save yourself time and frustration later. Next, solve using a quick, feasible method. Based on your understanding, pick a path and go for it. Third, adjust your solving method as needed. Don't beat your head against the wall. Stay flexible and take the path of least resistance. Finally, confirm your answer. Most importantly, make sure you answer the right question. Let's see how this works with an example problem. This problem relies on simple addition, but it's not easy. It's a classic GMAT question type where you need to determine digit values. If you want to try this problem yourself, pause the video now. First, understand the setup, including both the question prompt and the answer choices. Make sure you grasp what's going on and any deductions you can make. Read 2 or 3 times if necessary. One important thing to note here is that the question is asking for the units digit of the integer xy. Since the units digit of xy is simply y, you can restate the question in a simpler form. What you're really looking for is the value of y. Step 2. Solve using a quick, feasible approach. Based on your understanding of the setup, begin to solve using a method that seems reasonable, not too slow and not too difficult. Here, one possible approach is back solving, trying each answer choice. This could work, but it can also be tedious, since you might have to perform the addition 5 times. But there are variables in the problem, so instead, let's try an algebraic approach. To use the algebraic approach, you need to build equations. If you look at the units column of the addition problem, it looks like y plus y equals z. But what if, for example, y equals 9? Then y plus y equals 18 doesn't make sense as the single digit z in the result. You have to carry the 1. So it could also look like this, y plus y equals 1z. This method is starting to look complicated, and you can see that you'll have a similar problem when you add up the tens column. Don't bang your head against the wall. If your method seems overly complicated and time-consuming, there's probably an easier way. Go to step 3 and adjust your solving method. Let's try an approach using mathematical reasoning instead. Think about this. You have 2 2-digit numbers added together to give you a 3-digit number. What does that mean? Well, first, if xz is a 3-digit number, it must be at least 100. So the 100th digit x could be 1. But does x have to be 1? Could x be 2, for example? Even if both 2-digit numbers were as big as possible, even if they were both 99, they would still add up to less than 200. X must be 1. Now we're getting somewhere. You can rewrite the addition problem like this. Notice in the tens column you have 1 plus 8, which by themselves will only get you to 90. So how do you get to 100? It must be that you need to carry a 1 when you add y plus y in the units column. Then you have 1 plus 1 plus 8 in the tens column, enough to get you to 100. And since 1 plus 1 plus 8 equals 10, you know that z equals 0. Now you know that 1y plus 8y equals exactly 100. Y plus y results in 0 in the units column. That can only happen if y is 0 or 5. But if y were 0, you wouldn't carry a 1 to the tens column. So y must be 5. Now, ideally in step 1, you would have already noticed the 2-digit numbers adding up to 3 digits. And in step 2, you would have tried this approach first rather than algebra. But nobody always does it the best way the first time. The key is to always look for the path of least resistance. Finally, step 4, confirm your answer. It's easy enough here to do a final check by plugging everything back in, which of course gives you 15 plus 85 equals 100. But the most important thing to do is to make sure you answer the right question. Note that x, y, and z are all represented in the answer choices. 1 is choice B, 5 is choice D, and 0 is choice A. It's all too easy to pick the wrong one if you aren't careful. Of course, here you are looking for y, so the correct answer is D, 5. Okay, let's review the problem-solving process. And try to think of each problem like a mini game, say basketball or soccer or chess, or whatever you like, between you and your opponent, the test. First, understand the setup. You need to scout the opposition to know what you're up against. Notice how the problem and answer choices are put together, restate the question in simpler form if you can, and make deductions. Next, solve using a quick, feasible method. Pick what you think will be the most effective game strategy, whether that involves algebra, mathematical reasoning, or some other method, and then execute. Third, if you get stuck or see a better way, adjust your strategy. And remember, this is not a problem. It's just like making halftime adjustments when you need to. Remember to take the path of least resistance. Finally, confirm your answer. If you followed the process correctly, you should have an answer, but you need to seal the win. Make sure your answer makes sense and that you answer the right question. Now you just repeat that process for every game, every problem-solving question. Let's talk about the 3 most common process mistakes students make. Of course, everyone knows that you need to solve, which is step 2 in the process, but the other steps are often neglected. If you skip step 1 and dive in without understanding the setup, you might think that you're saving time, but as we saw, this will actually cause you to lose time. If you aren't flexible and don't adjust your approach when you need to, you're going to get stuck or give up on the problem. And if you rush to pick an answer without confirming, again, maybe trying to save time, you're likely to fall into traps and pick the wrong answer. So how do you avoid making these mistakes? Well, when you're first starting out, follow the process very explicitly, very consciously, each of the 4 steps. As you get more practice with it, it will become more natural, like mental muscle memory, a habit that you'll just follow naturally.